friends, and welcome to the first part of a video I'm doing on alt farming. Unlike alt parking, which uses your main account, this is alt farming, which uses alt accounts, usually with a heroic key enabled. We've had a whole bunch of sources of those recently in the last couple of years. Mine are about 2 years old for the most part. They're all starting to get their second birthday gifts. And there was a rumor that with the Wizard's Vault, this was dead. And I'm just going to go ahead and show this is absolutely not at all dead. So I'm going to switch to one of the accounts. I have a few that are set up like this, where they have a significant number of Air Devour caches and other things. You'll notice 101 large rank up chests. We all farm by custom arenas. I'm doing this before Wizard's Vault resets this week because this will be the week that the rest of the accounts get all their stuff. But we do the Maguma Waste track over and over and over again with everything set to PvP. You'll notice none of the achievements they've done include the words rated or tournament because Inet frowns on multi-boxing those. And the only way to efficiently do this is to 6-box 3v3. You sit there for 35 to 45 minutes and you finish your weekly on 6 different accounts at the same time. We're going to take a quick look at exactly what that can get us. So this is just going to be a little bit of opening boxes, but enjoy the shower of nonsense. You'll notice a ton of piles of silky sand. We will be turning that en masse into an actually usable resource. Piles of coarse sand, which we'll sell on the trading post for over a silver. We'll end up with a significant amount of these getting stuffed into a guild bank. If you can tell the music in the background, every now and then that is Mistlock. I have a character parked on my main account in Mistlock Sanctuary. We're going to switch to that for the last part of this first part of this video. But at the moment, we're just going to be opening bags. People seem to enjoy the bag opening content. I find it kind of boring. I should learn editing to speed this up, but I do everything sort of podcast, stream of consciousness, talky talk style, so there's not a whole lot of editing going on. If you think you can teach me how to edit this, I'm all for it. You'll also notice we're getting hundreds and hundreds of bags of the unidentified gear. We're getting a lot of ascended rings and armor from this, which are, unfortunately for us, mostly useless on these accounts. The champion bags give you significantly better loot than the normal bags do, and will also give you smaller bags. And then we have the end of track bags, which will open into almost completely useless currency if you are on an alt. However, this track on heroic is the best way because coarse sand is just worth so much more than anything else is. if you want dungeon armor and stuff, you can totally do the dungeon tracks. That's what I've been doing on my main account, is finishing up Dungeoneer by PvPing on it. Uh, you will notice this takes more than about the 45 seconds to a minute that it did in the old manner to alt farm. So it is significantly more tedious and more boring, and I understand why people say it's dead, because it's just a giant pain to do. However, uh, the the raw currency from running this, I've already spent. We're gonna tally up everything it bought. However, it did buy about 14 Black Lion weapon sets this go around, as well as mini sets 2 and 3, and a few other non-achievement weapon sets, and 20 ghostly infusions for alts. So I don't have to worry about swapping those around. You can still make a significant amount of in-game currency doing this. And I understand it's incredibly boring to watch. The reason we're standing over by a vendor is because there are a lot of trash that you'll get. I have been selling the rings for about 5 silver. You don't make your money back salvaging them right now. Like you can make a slight amount of money. The greens and blues as well is not worth using bank space for, not worth a Black Lion salvage kit, not worth going and buying a better salvage kit on an alt. It mostly just takes up space that we don't have a lot of, so everything dies. A lot of weapon chests. I think I got 8 or 9 on the first account I did this on. I did one as a test run. I just wanted to get one of these on camera, because since the Wizard's Vault doesn't reset for another couple hours, thanks Daylight Savings Time for pushing that back an hour, I won't get most of that done until tomorrow and Tuesday, in between work and the gym. So I had to pre-film some of it, and doing a character that has a billion bags to open just to show the full extent of how silly this can get might be helpful. I'm trying to avoid showing the guild bank at the moment, because I have the remnants of the first account I used stuffed in there. I also did the Balthazar backpack track for them all because it gave a Black Lion key. Those are worth doing, not just the one that gives you the most money. The keys can be valuable as well. I think of the non-repeatable ones, the ones with keys are valued slightly higher. The pristine sand cache we're not going to touch at the moment. But you just see the silky sand, so much sand. I wish you could do more than one full stack of sand at a time to get rid of it. I do enjoy the Mistlock background noise. I don't usually play with sound on, but when I fired everything up, the sound was going, and it was this song, and I said, well, I guess I'll keep it on. Another thing the sands are good for is if you want to make a Frost Legion infusion, uh, you need, I think, 30,000 of them. You need, it's just a ridiculous number, and this is a great way to get that. Destroying account-bound currency because we have zero need for it, zero use for it. We actually have a guild hall that's been fully decked out, needs no more of it. Don't have crafting leveled on any of the alt accounts except the one I inherited when my girlfriend no longer had a need for it. So anything that takes up too much space is just awful. I'll hit up the vendor again and sell everything. This is not the most efficient way to do things. I'm getting like a silver and a third from selling these. You can break them down on these characters using salvage kits and make slightly more, but you're not going to make enough more to justify the time. Like, the time's already a pain. I'd already rather not be doing this, and this is account number 2 of 68 alt accounts. The spending money part is the most fun. When you get to go, what ridiculous thing do I want? I think next Wizard's Vault reset might be some ghostly weapons. That'll be cool. And you'll notice the champion bags that open into smaller bags, those smaller bags also give you ridiculous amounts of sand. Like, half of the battle of these bags is converting sand into other sand. We are getting some exotics. Those will be blown up by salvage kits. They can be shuffled over to my main account or to an account with the right tools to blow stuff up, or they can just be destroyed on the character they're on. Problem I'm going to run into now is that we don't have enough space, and we're going to have to open up some form of bank to shove things in. Not sure I've seen that one before. I had a good run where I pulled, I think, 2 crustaceans out. And those are worth a decent amount because they're rare and only come from one specific type of bag. I'm just going to go ahead and dump some stuff into the guild bank. These are the leftovers from the first character we were working with. Just dumping in full stacks of stuff as we go. The rest of it will continue to accumulate. And we're back to bags. laptop is not enjoying having 3 or 4 accounts open right now. My desktop can run 6 most of the time pretty well. My laptop used to be able to do 4 without too much of a problem, but recently, especially when recording, absolutely hates that much going on at one time. I think we might, nope, we're close to being out of bags, and then we have different bags that absolutely won't stack with these to open. And those are our large rank up chests. Each one gives you a Tome of Knowledge and 5 champ bags. So we're going to get a ton of leadstone dust out of this that we don't particularly want. So we'll stuff some more stuff into the bank. Our destroy message was hiding behind our loot window, unfortunately. Need to... I wish I could disable more of the pop-ups. I have the same problem in EverQuest trying to loot and destroy things, that they absolutely want to make sure that you really want to do what you're doing. It's like, well, I'm doing it, so I would, yes, please. And I've had some people ask for EverQuest content. The problem is EverQuest content's really hard to shoot, because unless there are people online, and there usually aren't at the time I do stuff, that involves 6-boxing, and 6-boxing is basically impossible to get on camera. You would just see the tank point of view, and the tank point of view is sort of boring. There's definitely the least going on from tank POV. We are perpetually encumbered. There are never enough bag spaces to do what you want. In any game, really. That is an MMO staple. Is always wishing you had slightly more bag space. Or significantly more bag space. Thankfully at this point, pretty much anything that can come from non-champ bags, we have just a stack working. I'm gonna start chucking most of that in. The one downside of using guild banks for this is guild banks won't let you combine stacks in the bank. You have to pull it out and then put it back in. I wish they worked better. I wish quite a few things in this game worked the way you would expect them to. But they don't. We are going to get more sand, so I'm not going to bother with putting the sand in yet. As you can see, we have a decent number of everything. For these not being laurel bags, we actually make a good number of P5 and 6 mats. Also make a lot of the blow-upable stuff for minor materials. We'll get more amberite as well once we get back to destroying sand piles. Obsidian shards, you actually make a decent chunk of those, and on alts they are also sort of pointless. I wish I had more value out of those that would increase the value of what we're doing by a somewhat large margin, but sort of have to live with what we get. I'm also definitely not the fastest at chucking everything into the bin. I like to keep things half organized so I can at least figure out where stuff's supposed to go at a glance once we get into the second, third, fourth, and as many accounts as we can put in a guild bank at one time. Having to clean it out and record different sections of farming is not the most fun you can have. If you don't like this sort of tedium, I would recommend against using alts for this. Enjoy the game, have fun with the game. Don't beat your head into a brick wall for skins you'll never use, and you just are getting to boost account value number that does absolutely nothing for you in game. I'm aware that I should make better choices, but the purpose of this is to show that this is still possible. The art of wasting your life to use alternate accounts to make currency is still a thing. And we're getting close to being finished with this. I do enjoy the relaxing Mistlock music as I do this. There's not a whole lot to talk about sometimes. I need someone in here talking at me so I could talk back at them. Those are not the same. Those are the same. Okay, and the next step. Are the final track reward bags. These will give you one of the amberite pieces to make amberite weapons. The thing is, everything's account bound. You can't trade these, you can't sell these, you can't give these away. They are, unfortunately, just a waste. So we pick the same one every time. We end up destroying them or stuffing them in a bank. In this case, they get thrown into the personal bank, then they end up getting stuffed away on an alt character until they're no longer needed, or until the space fills up, or until I remember that I've done this for a year or two, and then they get discarded. Someone suggested Blish HUD because it makes the disposal of things significantly easier, and I'm absolutely going to use that. I just don't have it running right now because we're not doing anything that requires it. And as promised, we have significantly more silky sand to blow up. Each one of those chests gives you a full stack. Thankfully, there are only 4 accounts that have this much stuff on them. The rest of them go by a bit faster. Now for the last vendor. Back in the day, these accounts were played enough that we built up a decent stack of Black Lion salvage kits. So we're going to blow through some of them. There are probably 8 to 12 more per account on an alt character. I just had enough left in the bank to use for these purposes, which are finding exotics and deleting them off the face of the earth. We don't deposit anything that can be traded, so I have to be careful to not hit the deposit all button. The exception to this are tier 1 and 2 crafting mats, which I don't think I've ever cared about after leveling crafting that very first time. They're just part of the currency glut. We don't care about gear. We don't do map completions on these accounts. We don't do anything on these accounts other than what you're seeing. And standing quasi AFK in a custom arena, which is perfectly fine according to ArenaNet's terms and services, so long as you are actually at your keyboard and not completely unattended for the duration. This is somewhat of a waste of Black Lion salvage kits, however, I have too many of them, and by the time we get around to doing this again, I think I could actually buy them, so we may have more emergency ones just in case. I forget if you need... I don't think you need Secrets of the Obscure to buy these. You don't. We spend 1 day, 1.5 days worth of dailies, and we get enough to blow up 2 months worth of stuff. That's a decent trade. I don't mind sacrificing the 1.5 gold to not have to stuff 15 exotics into a bank. And once we get the last of this stuffed in, we'll close this account out, and then we'll go and look at what the value of some of this was, but we do have one more stop to make first because it is a Wizard's Vault refresh. And with that comes other things to buy besides gold. Those are not the same. My eyes are not great sometimes. If you have seen me do some of these videos, you might very well question how I am capable of some of the things I am in game. It's like, you partially skill click some of your stuff. How did you kill HTCM? I was like, well, there's a video on that floating around. Hilariously is my answer when asked. May not elegantly get to the finish line, but I absolutely get to the finish line. We're about to loop for the third or fourth time through Mistlock music. Not too many blue bags. Mostly green, some yellow. I keep one bag of coins, the repeatable purchase, because I'll just buy them and then hoard up, and then eventually I'll get rid of them all at one shot. Usually when purchasing something at the next Wizard's Vault reset. I'm not sure what gave us the one onion each time, but we got one onion each time. None of these are... Now that's sort of important. Okay, so the last place we're going before nuking all of this from space is the Upper City. I used to do this in Lion's Arch. Everyone moved here for Divinity's Reach because I was buying envelopes every day from Lunar New Year. And I just haven't moved back to Lion's Arch. And it's slightly faster in Divinity's Reach when there's not as many people. We're going to come to the Laurel Vendor. We're going to crank up almost a full stack of medium crafting bags. I'm going to go back to the bank area. We're going to mash open all and watch as we open everything. Even more bag opening. And we scroll down to the bottom. We do have the same number of laurels on every account. It's just the other bags that are different. So we're going to be opening a whole bunch of these over the next few days. Tier 3, 4, and 6. I always enjoy tracking which mats we get a lot of and which mats we don't get as many of. I'm going to deposit 35 gold. We're going to kill that account off for now. Hopefully this switches to the other account just to show that there's definitely not as much stuff on it. And then we're going to go to our main account. We're going to open up efficiency to the farming tracker. We're going to hit start. We're going to make sure this starts. I'm going to put that back in the background. We'll open it up later. We're going to very laggily talk to the vendor. These were bags that I had to pull out of the guild bank just to not throw our count off. We're going to take everything out, and then we're going to see what efficiency says those two accounts made us, in addition to what they have already made us. Those are leftovers from Lunar New Year's. I had these essence bags that I didn't open on a couple characters because I forgot. There's a lot of back-end work that goes into some of this, and it just gets frustrating to remember to do everything all the time. Gonna have to have another character mule our piles of coarse sand. I wish you could double click to take things out of the guild bank. It'd be incredibly helpful. One day I'll make 32 slot bags for my guardian. That is not this day, and it will not be anytime soon. I keep thinking the superior runes will drop back under 17 gold, and they just aren't. There's not enough people doing convergences, and the drop rate on convergences, I think I've gotten one total on 2 accounts doing 3 a week. The drop rate's not anywhere near as good as it should be. I think what I'm going to do with most of the mats I get this run through of Wizard's Vault is turn them into the stuff I need for obsidian armor and just shove it in the bank. Otherwise, I sell them as tier 6 sets, or can sell them as condensed magic and might sets for people that still need a bunch of them. Now that tier 6 sets are worth significantly less, well, not significantly less per laurel invested than the tier 3 and 4. Tier 6 by itself per piece is still significantly better. But a laurel bag of tier 6 mats, it gives you 3, and a laurel bag of tier 3 and 4 mats gives you, I think, up to 30 per. It's random between 5 and 10 3 times. It might be 5 and 10 5 times. Notice we're nearing the cap on all of these except, I think, essence for everything. Or dust, rather. So when I take the last bit of this out, we're going to hit stop on our farm tracker. We're going to see what 2 accounts made us, and then we're going to assume the other 2 accounts that have that much stuff on it will make the same, and then we know that there's going to be 64 fewer earning accounts. I started buying candy corn cobs with alt money because the next time Halloween rolls around, I have some minis I want that I never picked up from there. This is 4 of the Everbloom infusions with different stats. They can stack up to 8. By the time we get there, it's going to be a lot of stupid petals. Healers don't really need that 5 healing, so I've just started omni-statting those infusions, and we're going to have a lot of cherry blossom petals going on. Okay, we're going to open up efficiency again. We're going to hit stop. We're going to wait till it updates. I'm not sure in Guild Wars if there's a way to force API updates. I know with EverQuest, if you trade coins or log out and log back in, it will update that information, but that's not stored through API. So it's not the same thing. And then we'll be done with part 1, and part 2 will happen as we get into more accounts and more wizard vaulting in the next few days. You, however, should see this on Friday, released about 45 minutes before part 2, which should be released half an hour before part 3, which is the final tabulations of everything. Unfortunately, it's not going to have full efficiency data because, or at least screenshotted or videoed, because I already had to work on some of this over the last week. Okay, it looks like we made 1,273 gold out of all that. Uh, 1273 gold, 8 silver, 51 copper, mystic coins, 344-ish gold, and then the coarse sand, 6,500 of it is 122-ish gold. And you can see just all the way down. Some of this might be looking to see if anything's inaccurate and telling us it went up unrelated to farming. Some of the copper we can knock off about a silver if you don't want to count the Lunar New Year stuff. But there you go. Obviously the per hour count is just a made up number. We're not actually farming the way it's intended to track your farming. We're using it as a how much money came into my account from my guild bank from those alts, and it was a decent chunk of money. And if you notice where most of that money is coming from, the Mystic coin's going to be the same. That's 60 per account. The unidentified gear will be about a half of that. The coarse sand will be about a half of that. but then the tier 3 and 4 mats will be similar. The ecto will be slightly less. We'll say another 10 gold knocked off. And then the tier 6 mats will be slightly less, so we'll say 200 gold less. So we'll be at 800 gold per 2 accounts instead of 1250 per 2 accounts. It's still a lot. I still look forward to seeing exactly what the final count will be. I'm going to have to do that in chunks and just record as we go what each chunk is worth and then calculate that out. Thank you for watching. Part 2 for you should be right up there, ready to go. I'll see you then.